Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Michaela McNamara, and I am the editor with CasinoAffiliatePrograms.com. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us for our live webinar program. We're excited that today's webinar will be covering the topic of pay-per-click, more commonly referred to as PPC. For the next hour, we'll be focusing on ways affiliates can apply the right keyword match types, avoid common mistakes, understand broad match modifier and negative keywords, and how to use long tail keywords. We know this is a topic near and dear to the hearts of many affiliates, and we hope that these solutions we'll be providing will help your PPC campaign stand out and beat the competition. If you have any questions about any of the content presented today, as always, we will be providing an extended Q&A session for the last 20 minutes of the webinar. You're welcome to submit your questions throughout the presentation using the question panel in the GoToWebinar panel. Before we get started, I'd like to thank today's webinar sponsor, InterPartners. InterPartners is one of the most trusted online gaming affiliate networks, with well-known brands like InterCasino, InterPoker, and VIP Casino in its portfolio. With over 10 years of experience in the industry, InterPartners has paid over 4,000 affiliates more than $70 million in commission. With InterPartners, affiliates have the chance to earn up to 50% commission each month and can create tailor-made CPAs. All you need to do is talk to one of the InterPartners affiliate managers. InterPartners would also like to extend an exclusive offer to all CAP users today. If you sign up with InterPartners through the CAP directory through the link on your screen, they will top up your November 2011 commission with an additional $500 if you bring 5 new players during the month. To get the money, all you need to do is bring at least 5 new depositing casino players that wager $200 each from the 1st to the 30th of November 2011. That's it. To learn all about the aspects of affiliate marketing, casino, and poker, follow the InterPartners blog and Social Us pages or visit www.interpartners.com. For today's webinar, CAP is pleased to be joining forces with Latitude Group's Digital Insight Consultant, Mark Johnson. Welcome, Mark.
Hi.
Mark is a true expert in PPC marketing. He began his career in 2006 as a search executive and has since managed PPC accounts in a senior capacity across multiple sectors, including gambling, finance, travel, and retail for clients such as Bet365, Sport Tech, and Gala Coral. More recently, Mark has worked as a vertical strategist where he looked at online trends and insights primarily in the gambling, retail, and travel verticals across PPC, SEO, and display. In his current role as a digital insight consultant for Latitude Group, Mark provides consultancy and training in all aspects of digital marketing. Today, he's going to show you why sound PPC marketing practices are worthwhile for affiliates. Mark, again, thank you and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you very much.
Great. Without further ado, let's get started with the presentation. I'll pass everything off to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks for all of you for coming along and listening to this webinar. As Michaela said, today I'll be talking through 3 proven solutions to gain profitable keywords, very much looking at the keyword research side of things, and then how you go about selecting the best possible keywords for your account, and then how perhaps you go about improving those keyword lists and updating those keyword lists. The first slide, as you can see, just so we're clear, it's really important that you understand that I'll be talking about 2 things primarily, one of which is keywords, and these are phrases that are placed into your AdWords account that match to the search queries, but actually that it's the search query that matters most. And the search queries are highlighted in the slide. It's those words that a user types into the search bar. Important to remember also that search queries do not always match the keywords exactly. So really important as we start off that you get an understanding that it's the search queries, and perhaps this is something that might be new to some of you, it's the search queries that are the most important thing when building your keywords lists. Okay, so I'm going to run through the 3 main match types on Google. Again, some of this may be familiar to you already, but it's always good to just have a bit of a recap. So the main match type that Google allows us to select for our keywords is broad match. So in this instant, your ad would be eligible to appear for any search query that contains the keyword anywhere and in any order, but also for possible single and plural forms, synonyms, and other relevant variations. So in the example I've given, we may select the online casino as a keyword we'd like in our account. If we were to select it on broad match, then as you can see from the table, we would be eligible to show for those 7 different search queries. So online casino games, online casino UK, etc. As long as those words online and casino appear somewhere in the search query, then we would be eligible to show. So selecting broad match allows us to easily match to a number of search queries that might be relevant to our website. The next match type is phrase match. So this is when your ad would be eligible to show should the search query contain the keywords in the same order. So again, taking that same keyword, online casino, but putting on phrase match, you can see now that our ad would only be eligible to show for the top 3 search queries, because those are the only 3 where online casino appears in that order. So you can have words before the keyword and words after it, but you can't have keywords in between. You also won't match to plurals and singulars as soon as you start selecting a phrase match. And the third match type is exact match. This one's the most simple to understand. It's when your keyword matches exactly to the search query. So again, in this case, the keyword is online casino, but on exact match, we'd only appear for the first search query. And keyword research is possibly the most important thing to building a good PPC campaign. Understanding the different search queries that you might appear for, understanding which ones are the more popular ways in which people search for websites, perhaps even understanding the costs associated with them will allow you to select the most profitable ones for your campaigns and those that are going to work the best for you. For us, Google's keyword tool is the recommended tool for keyword search. I know some of you may use other ones that you have to pay for, but for us, there is no better than actually the one that Google uses. It has all the features that you need. I've provided the URL for you for those of you that haven't used it before, but if you type in keyword tool into Google, it's the result that appears highest up, and it looks a bit like the screen grab that I've selected for you. Really simple tool to use. Hopefully you can see the mouse moving over. In the top box is where you pop your possible search queries. You can also select a category if you want to refine your searches. But once you've selected a few phrases that you'd like to see Google give you some results for, just clicking the search button underneath will give you a number of different search terms related to those. So in this example, I've typed in the search queries poker online and online poker, and the search terms returned are giving me a list of how many times those search queries have been searched for. Some of you may also have noticed that on the left-hand side are 3 tick boxes for the different match types. I've ticked all of them for this screen grab, and if you have very good eyesight, you might be able to see the different search volumes attached to those, and the fact that the broad match term has many more searches than the phrase match, which has again considerably more searches than the exact match. Within the tool, it also gives you a competition column with low, medium and high ratings to hopefully give you an idea of just how competitive the terms are, as well as global monthly searches and local monthly searches. The local monthly searches is obviously dependent on the location that you've selected in the advanced filters at the top, so in this case the United States. But this is the tool that we always use, we go to do our keyword research, having a think about the types of phrasing that people use. It's not a bad point to start off with your own intuition in terms of saying, right, well, if I was looking for this account or for this website, what are the type of searches that I type in? But it's not to make any assumptions, because what you might use might be totally different to what someone else might use. And as you can see, in terms of the search volumes, they can vary massively depending on the match types. So just taking, in this example, the term online poker as the keyword, on exact match, you only get 60,500 possible searches. On phrase match, you get 246,000, and on broad match, you get a massive 450,000 searches, possible searches. And the volume that appears on these is a 12-month average volume. So something, again, you need to be aware of is that if you are put keywords or deciding to put keywords into your account that have large seasonality fluctuations, perhaps poker terms, we'll see a rise in searches around the World Series of Poker, or if you have sportsbook and betting accounts based on events that are going on, you'd expect to see seasonal spikes in and around those. So if you are looking at the search volumes for these keywords within the tool, remember that they are taken over a 12-month period and an average of that. For us, we only use these volumes as a guide. There are so many factors that determine just how many times a keyword in your account appears, and quality score being one of them and the bid being the other, that if I was to select online poker for my account, there's no guarantees that I will get 450,000 clicks in a month for that keyword. So for us, we take it as a guide that online poker on broad match is perhaps twice as popular as online poker phrase match, which is about maybe 6 times more popular than online poker on exact match. But we spend a vast amount of time using this keyword tool, putting in new search queries, getting an understanding of the phrasing that people use. Within the UK, we absolutely love our car insurance online. We search for it constantly. And we know through our research that people tend to type in car insurance in that order rather than insurance car. I think for you guys in the US, it's auto insurance. But again, I think it's very similar. People tend to type in auto insurance rather than insurance auto if they were looking for that. In the gambling sector, actually, people do type in both online poker and poker online. So if you are deciding to build an account based on poker, then you need to be aware that there are 2-3 different variations that people commonly use and that you'd need to have both variations in. Obviously, online poker on broad match would effectively appear for both the search queries poker online and online poker, but if you put them on phrase or exact match, you're going to need both variations on those. Now, broad really does mean broad, and it can be or should be the starting point for any account that you build upon, but as the definition says, Google's going to broad match you potentially to plurals and singulars and other variations. So as your keyword, your broad keyword starts to attract search queries, it's then time to start adding negative keywords, which we'll have a look at later, but also adding new phrase and exact match based off those search queries that you are being matched to. If you're only using broad match terms within your account, then you're basically letting Google decide which search queries are, in quotations, related, which is perhaps a dangerous game to play when you want to have better control over the bids you put on your keywords as well as the budgets assigned to them. So the takeaway from today's webinar is broad really is broad. Most keywords have a massive range of related search queries, so don't just have accounts full of broad match. It's fine as a starting off point, but as you look to optimize your accounts, you should be looking to move away from lots of broad match keywords to more phrase match and more exact match, as it gives you much more control. The other thing to remember, as I mentioned right at the start of this webinar, it's the search queries that are most important. We often speak to people who are looking through their AdWords campaigns and they're treating keywords as good keywords, okay keywords, and bad keywords, and not always thinking about the search queries behind those keywords, certainly on the broad match side of things. An example being, just a typical example being, for instance, if you had keyword A was in your account and on the face of it, it was performing badly, but if you looked at the actual search queries that it was appearing for, two were performing very well. If you were trying to put bid management on that, you would basically be having to treat all of the search queries it was appearing for as equal, which is obviously not ideal and perhaps a dangerous game to be playing. So you need to be having a think about, if you have got broad match terms within your account, what are the search queries that they are appearing for? Are there search queries and phrases that are more profitable for us? And if there are phrases within there that actually are relevant, we need to be starting to add negative keywords to our account. Another thing to be aware of that some of you may not know is that Google's AdWords platform doesn't recognize non-letter characters in general. It does recognize accent marks and ampersands, but if you have decided to enter in keywords like the example I've given, www.bingo.com, Google will see this within its system as www.bingospace.com. And this is really, really common when people are deciding to put keywords based off URLs or website names. So if you have both variations in your account, Google would treat them as the same keyword. So you need to be careful of those. It doesn't help with bid management having duplicate keywords in the account, because if you were to try to say www.bingo.com was a good keyword variation and you wanted to raise its bid or lower its bid, if you lowered its bid to control your budget a bit better, and then you came back the next day and you were still appearing for those kind of related terms, it could be that the variation www.bingo.com actually now qualified as being the main keyword to appear for those kind of terms. So our recommendation is to go back through your account, just check that you don't have keywords in that don't have recognized letters within them, and make sure that you remove them, because Google will treat them as spaces within the account. So just a quick summary really on the common mistakes that people make initially when building their accounts. I do a lot of consultancy where I get access to other people's accounts and are asked to kind of grade them and give recommendations off the back of it. And one of the main ones that I tend to find is that too many of the keywords are on broad match, which means that often the account has been appearing for a lot of irrelevant searches. Sometimes they've put some time into making extensive negative lists, but this can be very, very timely, and it's not always possible to pick up all the different variations that your broad match term could be appearing for. It also makes bid management more difficult. As I said with that example, keyword A and the search queries it might be appearing for, you'd have to treat all of those search queries as being equal, when actually if you dived a bit deeper, you'd know that there was a few variations that worked well for you and a lot of them that didn't. Another issue that I come across is actually on the total flip side, that too many accounts have too many keywords on exact match. Google states that they receive about 3 billion searches a day, and of those, around 25% are totally new searches. So if you are building an account purely or mostly on exact match, then actually you're not allowing yourself to see the search queries behind. And those new search queries that people are using might be worthwhile to you, and therefore missed opportunity by not having them. So our recommendation is it's not a problem starting off with broad match in your account to see the types of search queries that people use, but you need to be then evolving your campaign, optimizing your campaign, adding in additional negatives as well as phrase and exact match, so that an optimized campaign that's kind of matured would have a more equal split of the different match types and is not too heavily weighted to one of the three. As I said in the last slide, duplicate keywords is something that, again, we commonly come across, not only the one where it's got dots in it, like the bingo.com example, but also broad match keywords that have words in them that are just appear in a different order. So as you can see on the slide, Online Poker UK is equal to UK Online Poker, which is equal to Online UK Poker. On Broadmatch, they're all the same keyword, and they've matched to the same search queries. If this is the case, then you need to go through your account. If you have access to Google AdWords Editor, then there's an option within there to find the duplicate keywords, and then it's about perhaps having a look at the keyword tool to see which variation is the most popular typed in, or if you already have data with those keywords, then select the one that either has the highest quality score and ad rank and has the greatest history, and then remove the other variations from your account, so that you know that if you affect one of them with a bid, you know that you can bid manage that one and not have other duplicate keywords taking over should the situation change on those. Now, I've talked through the three main match types of broad match, phrase match, and exact match. Google brought in another match type called the broad match modifier, which sits somewhere between broad match and phrase match. It realized that broad match didn't really give much control at all unless you had lots of negatives with it, and phrase match perhaps restricted people too much in terms of the search queries that those keywords were appearing for. So it's now possible, with the use of a plus sign, to fix certain elements of the keyword. That means that it won't be broad matched to related searches and other searches that are perhaps not considered close variants. So as you can see from the definition that Google says, you may well still be able to appear for misspellings, plurals and singulars and abbreviations, and stemmings, but synonyms like quick and fast and related searches like flowers and tulips are not considered close variants. So if you look through your search query reports that show all the different search queries that you've appeared for, and again you start to see a trend where there are certain elements of words which you don't want to be broad matched, then use of broad match modifier with the plus sign in front of the term will allow you greater control. Just to highlight for you the correct way of entering that in, as you can see from the three things at the bottom of the slide, the plus sign needs to come immediately before the keyword you'd like to fix. Don't leave a space in between the plus sign, and equally don't have them all as one word either, otherwise it won't work. Just a tip on this one, be careful if you start to use words or within the keyword, the minor words such as a, and, the, for, or to, etc. If you decide to put a plus sign before those, then you may well limit your traffic, as searchers often omit them when they are looking for things. We found when using broad match modifier in casino terms and gambling terms that it works very well where close or lots of variations are used, and the 5 deposit bingo term was one that we've seen work very well, as people tend to type in 5 as a number or 5 as a word, and we saw a common trend that suggested that that variation was actually the most profitable side of things. Now, I've mentioned a number of times the importance of these search queries and these search query reports. If you want to run one off, then in the second kind of screenshot, you need to go onto the Keywords tab within AdWords and then look for the button that says See Search Terms, which I've highlighted for you. If you click on that button, a drop down comes, and if you select all, then depending on the keywords that appear underneath in the screen, Google will then show you, for the date range selected, all the different search queries that those keywords show for, just like the screenshot on the right hand side. It will give you their performance so that you can start to see the common variations, even perhaps irrelevant searches, and therefore possible negative keywords that you need to add to your account. These should be run off regularly. It's important. An important part of campaign management is to update your keyword list and make sure that you're only appearing for those search queries that are working for you. There isn't a general rule of thumb of when you should run these off. It depends on the size of the account, perhaps the importance of the keyword, but they should be run off regularly. Our company will be doing it at least weekly for the bigger accounts to make sure that our keyword lists are as up to date as possible. Now, negative keywords, again, is an area when I start to go through other people's accounts and start grading them. It is something that perhaps often gets overlooked and not used enough. The use of negative keywords allows us to stop Google from showing us on certain search terms. How do you go about finding them? Well, you can find them through your keyword research, or you should be able to find a good initial list through the keyword tool. For those of you who have are using gambling, then things like advice, addict, addiction, anonymous cheating counsel, all of these ones are good ones to put in your account right from the start. You're looking for people to play online and bet online, not looking perhaps for advice in terms of those that perhaps have problems or issues or addictions with gambling. The other thing that you can use, as I've just mentioned on the previous slide, is your search query reports, or SQRs, to make sure that you're constantly updating not only new keywords, but also adding new negatives to your account. And negative keywords can have all three match types, so broad match, phrase match, or exact match applied to them. Generally, we pop in negative keywords on broad match, so that it doesn't matter where they appear within the search query. As long as they appear, then we don't want our ads to be showing for them. Now, if you were wanting to look to expand your account, then for many of you guys who are perhaps have not got as much budget as some of the bigger spenders, then long tail keywords are often the keywords that are most profitable for you. Where you can go about finding them, well, similar to the negative keyword strategy, you can find them in the search query reports as well as the keyword tool. And this is where perhaps you have to start thinking outside the box. So away from the really generic, really popular ones like poker online, have a think about the common words that people use with those main phrases. So play, playing, free, best, depending on what it is that you're looking to advertise on those. Common misspells. So as you can see on the slide, roulette as a keyword on broad match may get 1,500,000, but common misspells, mistypes on those still get a considerable amount of volume on them. So an opportunity, and they are often less competitive as well. So it's good to have a look, have a think about, use the keyword tool, perhaps joining words together in the bottom screen grab. William Hill bingo and 88 ladies bingo all as one word, again, still gets a good amount of volume. And if you do have a look at the affiliate schemes, sometimes there are a few loopholes in their guidelines around brand terms, and I would suggest go and have a look and see whether or not you can take advantage of them. And commonly the ones they miss out are ones where you attach the name all as one word, like the two that I've provided at the bottom. And if you can get on brand terms, often the clicks are much cheaper, and you get a good amount of conversions from those. So as I said, think outside of the box, have a look at common misspells as well as those common words beforehand, and see whether or not you can pick up cheaper, less competitive variations than some of the big terms. Other suggestions are the names of the games. So Smaller volume and less competition on those, but they are still search terms, search queries that people do search upon, and many new games are being created all the time. So do go back and check on the websites to see the latest games, see if you can then put them into the keyword tool to get an idea of the ways in which people search for them and the misspells and the variations depending on those. Another suggestion is to do with the offers. The example I gave for the broad match modifier with the 5 deposit bingo, that sees a good amount of volume coming through. So if you do know of offers that are commonly searched upon, then again, look to try and add those into your campaign. Land them on a page with that offer on, and we have seen very good conversions from those. I've always mentioned misletters and misspacing and brand names. As I say, be creative on that one, and often you can get through and find gaps in the affiliate guidelines on those. And then lastly, just a simple reordering of the words, which will obviously only work on phrase match or exact match, but people do type in gaming, gambling keywords in many different variations and in all sorts of orders. So don't just assume that because you were typing it in a certain way that everyone else will do the same. Do have a look within your search query performance reports as well as the keyword tool to get those variations and pop them in the account. And often you can pick up much cheaper clicks by having all those different combinations in your account. The final thing just to have a think about when trying to see or make a decision on the search queries and therefore keywords in your account that work best for you is the intent behind the keyword and behind the search query. Have a look. Do some convert better for you than others? 4 types of intent within gaming. For instance, one is information, so people looking of where they can find certain websites or places where they can play the games or bet, or perhaps even what are the best ones. Another area is commercial, so people who want to play tournaments. Location, so if people are saying online, then that's often a good indication that they're looking for a website. The same goes for the term sites as well, but these kind of keywords are often overlooked and not used, but they do convert very well. For those of you based in the UK, then popping in the term UK somewhere within the search term as well helps with the intent of the user, explain the intent of the user and therefore the suitability of your website. And then finally, sales and offers. So whether or not you're wanting people to sign up for free gaming of some kind, or perhaps there are these common offers or deposits that they can make within the sites. I'm sure there's a few others as well, so do have a look back through your accounts and see if you can find a trend, see which ones are working well for you, and then exploit those more. Just some final thoughts for you, just to kind of recap what I've gone through today. Keyword research. Don't skip on it. You need to be really thorough within it. Much better to spend time and research finding the right types of keywords and having them in the account and then building your account slowly than perhaps putting in a number of keywords that are irrelevant or don't bring the ROI, the return on investment that you're looking for. Once you've got the keywords in your account, however, start to look at the search queries. Have a look to see what you're actually appearing for, because if all you're ever going to base your research off is the keyword tool and basically Google's data, you're not ever really looking at real life data and the data that works best for you. And every gambling client that we have has a different account, different keywords. We might start off with similar keyword lists, but as the accounts mature and as the accounts get optimized, then they evolve into totally different keywords, keyword lists. Don't have accounts that are too broad or exact match focused. Remember, too broad and you're giving too much control to Google in terms of the search queries that you match to, and too many exact matched keywords, isn't allowing you to see the different types of search queries that people are using. And remember, 25% of searches are new every single day. I can't reiterate it enough. It's all about the search queries and not the keywords. Don't focus on keywords being good, bad, or average. Have a look to see what are the search queries behind those keywords that we're appearing for, and treat those as the ones, whether or not you add those search queries on exact match as a keyword, or whether you're happy to keep them on broad match modifier, or even phrase match. And then finally, just use all the tools available to you. I've told you about Google's keyword tool as your first place for keyword research. I provided a link for you for an agency toolkit, which gives you links to all the Google tools out there. Some of you may use Google Analytics as your analytics package. Very, very useful tool to see the types of keywords and phrasing that people are typing in, which ones convert best for you. There's another tool called Google Insights for Search, which shows seasonality. So remember, the keyword tool is showing you volumes based off a 12-month average. If you type that key phrase into Google's Insights for Search, then you can start to see peaks and troughs in terms of seasonality and people searching on that. So go have a look at the agency toolkit and have a look at some of the other tools, and just use as many as possible. More information will make more informed decisions on those. But thanks very much.
Great. Mark, thank you so much for that great presentation. It's time to move on to our question and answer portion of the webinar. Throughout Mark's presentation, I've had a number of great questions come in from the audience. And the first question that came in is a two-part question. Mark,
Okay.
what are your thoughts on Google's ban on PPC for gambling-related terms? And the second part of that question is, based on this, how do you get PPC ads for gambling up on Google as well as Bing?
Okay, so this is in the US market. Google has decided with the government to ban ads. It's a tricky one. I don't think that Google wants it that way. If Google had its way, then it would definitely have gambling. We saw when they reintroduced the ads back in the UK about 2.5, 3 years ago, that they're bringing in a vast amount of money through these terms. There are ways of getting around it. Using some misspells sometimes can slip through the net. Talking about sites to do with information rather than any terms, because Google have its filters in place. Terms which like bet and odds and play are going to be more difficult, and Google will pick up on those. But sometimes you can get some of the, as I said, the information, ways of playing. You can get those through the filters, and also the misspells, and even the names of some of the games as well. I know in the UK we have a number of games based off some TV shows, so you might be able to pick up people looking to play that kind of TV show in the casino games area, and Google won't be banning those kind of terms, because Google won't know, other than if people are kind of looking to put in the word play in front of them. They won't know whether or not they're looking for the TV show or actually they're looking for the gambling game. Remind me what the second part was?
The second part of that question is, based on this, how do you get PPC ads for gambling up on Google as well as Bing, which you did answer and give us some helpful little tricks.
I don't see. Yeah, I hope they'll lift the gambling thing. I don't think the issues that the US government have with gambling in general is down to Google. People will still find ways of gambling regardless. But yeah, as it currently stands, just look at the long tail, and I think just try and think outside the box on this one, and try and get through those filters. Avoid those terms that Google may well pick up because of the intent of the search. And
I would say about 30 to 35 minutes worth of chat,
games,
and then
as
we're coming to
Great, thank you for answering that. The second question I have is, what is the best range for a budget to start off with when diving into PPC, particularly for affiliates in the gambling niche?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again? Best?
Sure. What is the best range for a budget to start off with when diving into PPC, particularly for affiliates in the gambling niche? Basically, do you recommend a cost per click amount that is most effective?
Well, cost per click amounts vary massively within gambling. So I would have to suggest you look at it in terms of the different markets. Bingo is totally different to casino and roulette terms, which is totally different to poker terms. The really, really big terms, I know some of our clients in the UK are paying upwards of £35, £40 per click to appear in the top positions. Wow. Such is the lifetime value of a user coming through a casino term that's just how the auction model works. But these will reduce massively. The longer tail the keyword is, the less competition there is on them. I would always say start off small. Perhaps have a look at maybe a 50p bid or even a £1 bid and see just quickly, and it doesn't need to take very long, the kind of positions that you can appear for those. Within the keyword tool, Google's keyword tool, if you are logged into your AdWords account, then you can actually drop down another column which gives an estimated CPC. Again, this is just a range to go off that Google suggests this is what you need to appear on the first page. But generally, I'd say go for a 50p bid initially, see what the position is. But it is, as I said, very dependent on just how competitive the term is and who is on them. I would expect the gaming for some of the casino games and the bingo games available will be far less competitive, and actually you'll pick up much cheaper clicks as a result. And just remember to put daily budgets on. No problems having a test campaign that you introduce new keywords into with maybe a budget of £10 a day or whatever. Put them in, see how many impressions, how many clicks you get from those. If you do decide then that keyword is going to work for you, then obviously you can then move it out of that campaign into the rest of your structure and know that you've got and tested it so that it works for you.
Great advice. We've had a number of guests submit this particular question. What other PPC tools besides Google would you consider as useful resources for gaming affiliates?
Well, I think that Google provides all the tools that you need. Personally, I know there are other tools out there that are very similar, and often they're interlinked with SEO. But I think from a PPC perspective, the keyword tool is the first point of call for keyword research. There's a link in there for the traffic estimator, which will give you estimated bids and budgets. If you have a look in the agency toolkit of the URL I provided on one of the slides, then the Google Insights for Search tool will give you seasonality as well. If you do have an analytics package, whether that be Google Analytics or another one, and you really should be investing in an analytics package, Google Analytics is free, which is brilliant, and that will be able to tell you all the conversions and visitor and user information of when they come to your website, how they interact with your website, how long they spend on your website, the keywords and the sources they came to as well. So you can have a look at that analytics to then apply it back to those keywords that are actually working best for you and are converting best for you on those.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Another question that just came in. What are the best ways to improve your PPC quality score?
Okay, so Google's quality score is a range of 1 to 10 that Google applies to each keyword to tell you what it sees its relevancy is. It's a measure of relevancy, and quality score times your maximum bid gives you this ad rank value that you're then ranked on in the auction model. So Google does suggest that a number, the default number applied is a 7. So if your keywords are receiving quality scores, and often within gaming sector, a lot of keywords do receive less than a 7, that should be giving you an indication that for some reason Google's seeing this as being perhaps not as optimized as it should be. The main factor that goes into Google's quality score is click-through rate. So clicks divided by impressions gives you this percentage value. And because every ad, every keyword is getting this click-through rate, Google would say, well, if someone's keyword is relevant to the search query, then, and their ad is relevant to the search query as well, then you'd expect people to click on that ad and therefore receive a good click-through rate. On the flip side, if someone's decided to either put in a too broad a match keyword and a totally irrelevant ad, then if someone was to type in a search query and see that ad, they may well think that it's not as relevant. So it's Google's way of regulating to make sure that its search results are as optimized and as relevant as possible. So one of the things you might want to look at is the match type. Remember, it's all about the search queries. So have a look at the actual search queries that your keywords are appearing for. Can you add in new negatives to remove those search queries that aren't actually relevant to you or aren't performing well or getting you clicks? Or can you add in new keyword on different match types to improve your click-through rates? The other thing is your ad texts. Are there some ad texts that work better than others? Are there certain messages within those? And having a look at those two things may well be able to give you a better understanding of improving your CTR. And another factor is your landing page as well. Google wants the user experience to be as good and as relevant as possible. So you need to land them on a page that is related to the search term. Not only from a conversion point of view, if you land someone on a poor page, they may well bounce off that page and come back to the search engine. But Google doesn't want you to land the pages that will have pop-ups or not a lot of information or are totally irrelevant or slow loading times, all these things it takes into account. So you might need to have a relook at some of your landing pages if you're experiencing low click-through rate. A poor quality score. If you go into your AdWords campaign and go next to the keyword, then you can hover over, I think it's a speech bubble that kind of expands out and lets you know whether or not your keyword has got a good or poor score, a good landing page or not a good landing page, and that kind of thing. But for me, the main indicator is click-through rate and how you can improve that, whether or not you need to add in more negatives so that you're not appearing for search queries that aren't relevant, or have a look at your ad text to see whether or not you can improve the relevancy of that to the search queries.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Next question I have for you is, how do you see the PPC industry evolving into 2012, particularly for gaming affiliates?
I see it still being the juggernaut that it is. It's how Google makes most of its money. So they're always looking at new ways to use adverts and the different types of adverts that are appearing, and they're constantly testing them. So I know within the UK we're seeing adverts that are now, you can start to put images within them. You're getting ones where they promote the description line 1 as part of the title. So from that point of view, being creative with your ad text and making sure that they stand out from the competition is an important side of things. From an affiliate point of view, it's about perhaps moving away from those real expensive core terms and trying to think more about the intent behind the search queries that people are providing. People are becoming more and more internet savvy. They're far more used to searching or knowing how to search for exactly what they're looking for. So you don't need to be on those big terms. There are many other combinations out there that you can appear on that are far less competitive and therefore much cheaper, that still convert well. So it's about doing that important keyword research and making sure that you're only appearing on those search queries that really do work for you.
Great, thank you. This next question came in from Paul. Do you know of any gaming affiliates having success with PPC traffic and running ads and campaigns from ad networks such as AdBright, ValueClick, or CBS Interactive?
Paul, I don't actually know on those. I would have thought there will be some, but unfortunately, I have not come across any on those. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Mark, you're obviously a huge fan of the Google Keyword Tool. I want to know, if you could, what recommendations would you make to Google to improve the tool, if any?
Within the tool, it does have a categories section, which you can apply to the search results. Say, for instance, let me think of an example. Say that the search query that you were searching for perhaps had a double meaning within different sectors. So if you typed in the search query Hilton Paris because you were looking for the hotel, Hilton Hotel in Paris, on Broadmatch, you might also appear for search queries relating to Paris Hilton, which is totally different, and you might need extensive negative lists on those. So within the tool, it allows you to specify whether or not you'd like to look at just things to do with hospitality, in which case it would filter out those search queries around, obviously, the other meaning behind those. And I'd like them to be a bit more specific and expand on them. I'm not sure that I agree with all the groupings that they come under, and certainly for gaming, they're not overly friendly to really drill down to that, because it's a tool that can be used by anyone in any country. It's an area that I haven't really expanded out, which I would like them to.
Great. Can you give the audience any excellent examples of successful PPC campaigns by a gaming affiliate?
Yeah, for me, it's about taking advantage of perhaps bigger companies. I mean, similar to, I guess, to the clients that we do, where we may have many, many keywords in our account that are the big terms that run throughout the whole year. But what we found useful for those guys that we've advised for affiliates is that you can be far more reactive and responsive to the events that come up, and being able to manage your keyword groupings, because you don't perhaps have as many keywords in your account, take advantage of those that may have a much shorter shelf life. So big events, boxing events, and fights that will have maybe a month to run, and then obviously it's not going to happen again unless there's a rematch. Around certain smaller events that might be going on, people do still search for them. So if you know of events around where you're situated, have a look around those ones, and the bets and the betting and the odds and the different variations around those, and take advantage of what may just run for a week or a month, but take advantage of the volumes that come in and around those. Often people will be looking for the latest odds or things like that.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark. That concludes our Q&A session for today's webinar. Mark, thank you again so much for being our guest speaker and for providing some insightful information on how affiliates can boost their PPC campaigns. Another big thank you to everyone in the audience for participating today. It's involvement like this from our valued affiliates and operators that make excellent content such as our live webinars like this possible. Our commitment to building a more attractive and educational CAP community can be strengthened by your support. Just so you know, we are currently nominated for 5 awards at the IGB Awards 2012. We'd like to ask you to take a moment to vote for us no later than December 12th for these awards, including the Lou Fabiano Best iGaming Community, Best Non-Traditional Affiliate, Best Overall Affiliate, and our own Brooke Cole for the Best Non-Traditional Affiliate Manager and Best Overall Affiliate Manager. Please make sure to cast your vote for CAP in these categories at the link on your screen. Thank you again so much for joining us today. It was great to have you here. And thanks again, Mark. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.